All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Dean's List recognition event, along with our Engineering Meets Business lecture for the fall semester. So I want to welcome all the students who are here. Most of you are being recognized tonight, which is great for your achievements last semester. Thanks to the faculty who are in the audience, staff who are here. I also want to welcome our guests from O'Brien and Gear from their Innovation Technology Committee who are joining us this evening in the front, and Nick Donofrio, who's going to be our keynote speaker after we finish our Dean's List recognition. So if you don't know me, I'm Julie Hasenwinkel. I'm the Senior Associate Dean in the college and a professor in biomedical and chemical engineering. Unfortunately, Dean Dahlberg isn't able to be with us tonight, so I'm filling in for her. But she sends her congratulations to all of the students who are being recognized this evening. So we are going to start with that part of the program. Students, you should each have a card that has your name on it. Please make sure you bring it forward with you, because that's what I'm going to use to read your name. So it's going to be embarrassing if you come up here and you don't have the card. We'll go by department, starting with biomedical and chemical engineering. And as we go from department to department, the faculty who are here from that department, if you can just please come up and join me. I'll be reading the students' names. You can congratulate them as they come across. And then Kate will be giving them their much anticipated prize, which is carefully hidden under the cloth. Department of Biomedical and Chemical Engineering, and Professor Young, if you can join us up here. You guys can get up and start moving to the front. As we change out the microphones. So I should also add that last semester, in the spring semester 2017, there were 578 students in the College of Engineering and Computer Science who made the Dean's List. And in order to make, in order to make the Dean's List, you have to have a semester GPA of a 3.4 or higher. So that's quite an achievement, particularly in our rigorous programs. Obviously, not all of them are able to join us tonight. Some of them graduated, so they have a good excuse for not being here. And others are busy, of course, with classes and other things. But thank you to those of you who are able to be here, and we will start with Justine. Justine Paul from Bioengineering. Yes, please clap. Chelsea Ivanka Diakno from Chemical Engineering. Brianna Hennigan from Bioengineering. Sarah Wilsey, Bioengineering. Elon Meltzer from Bioengineering. James Kilberg, Bioengineering. Brittany Reed, Bioengineering. Colleen Cassidy, Bioengineering. Leah Singer, Bioengineering. Mei Wu, Chemical Engineering. Sam Chen, Chemical Engineering. Kiana Lally from Bioengineering. Jessica Manetta, Bioengineering. Austin Freer, Chemical Engineering. Victor Tay, Bioengineering. And Nawal Ahmed, Bioengineering. Thank you, Doug. Congratulations to all the students from Biomedical and Chemical Engineering. Next up is the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering, so Professor Dannenhofer is going to join us. Okay, we have Grant Bannister from Civil Engineering. Larissa Taku Ayayo from Civil Engineering. Allison Mayar, Civil Engineering. Alicia Lefevre, Civil Engineering. William Guida, Civil Engineering. Jasmine Berry, Environmental Engineering. Endela Fustel, Environmental Engineering. Courtney Davis, Environmental Engineering. Ankit Kakar, Civil Engineering. Jennifer Montaleza, Civil Engineering. Haley Bagando, Civil Engineering. Emily Mahana, Civil Engineering. And Michael Yakubov, Civil Engineering. Thanks, Joan. Next up, we have students from the Department of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science, and this includes majors in electrical engineering, computer science, and systems and information science. And we're joined by Professor J.O., who's the chair of the department. Thank you. Chen Hao Lin from Electrical Engineering. Yi Zhou from Electrical Engineering. Chen Yu Zhou from Computer Science. Zenon Ma from Computer Science. Vitaly Timoshuk from Computer Engineering. Tassin Tamid from Electrical Engineering. Claire Olin from Computer Engineering. Tanjina Mala from Computer Science. Kai Yang Liu from Systems and Information Science. Yiming Zhao from Systems and Information Science. Yi Tian from Computer Science. Do you have a card? What's your name? Christian, last name? Morales. Christian Morales from Computer Engineering. All right, and last but not least, we have the Department of Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering, and I'm joined by Professor Young Moon, the department chair, Professor Dannenhofer, who's the Aerospace Program Director. Attila Meleg from Aerospace Engineering. Julia Jesse, Mechanical Engineering. Sam Jacey, Mechanical Engineering. William Fontana, Mechanical Engineering. Jeffrey Shum, Mechanical Engineering. Lucas Lynn, Mechanical Engineering. Frank Richardson, Aerospace Engineering. Andrew Cummings, Mechanical Engineering. And Colton Green, Mechanical Engineering. Thanks. All right, so congratulations to all of our students for making the Dean's List, and we hope that you're on the right path to be back here for our next Dean List recognition event. So keep getting those good grades, and we will see you again in the spring semester, we hope. So now it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Nick Donofrio. Nick is an alum of the College of Engineering and Computer Science. He earned a master's degree in electrical engineering in back in the 70s, I'll just say. Nick is also a 44-year veteran of IBM, where he held the position of Executive Vice President for Innovation and Technology at the time of his retirement. He was also selected as an IBM Fellow, which is the company's highest technical honor. Nick has been a great supporter of the College of Engineering and Computer Science here at Syracuse University. He's a member of the Board of Trustees at the university. He's also the benefactor of the Donofrio Scholars Program here, and we have Donofrio Scholars in the audience. Maria's clapping back there. So Nick is very deeply committed to supporting the advancement of women and underrepresented minority students in engineering and computer science and in those industries. And so he has donated very generously to that cause, advancing education and employment and career opportunities. And the Donofrio Scholars Program here at Syracuse is part of that broad profile of investments that Nick has made. And so far we've had 2 cohorts of Donofrio scholars who have graduated from engineering and computer science. We've got 4 more in the pipeline. They've done tremendously well in their time here, and we're very grateful to Nick for his support of that program, along with the broader support of engineering and computer science and Syracuse University. So if you're not familiar with our Engineering Meets Business lecture series, this is also brought to us by the generous support of one of our alumni, Moose Akram, who graduated from the chemical engineering program in 2010, gave the gift to establish this lecture series, and it's really due to his passion for helping students understand how engineering and computer science disciplines that you're all studying in school integrate with the business world that you'll all work in someday. And so we've used Moose's gift to bring back prominent alumni who have great industrial experience to talk about their path, how they've used their technical degree, and how they've been so successful in their chosen industry. And tonight we're very pleased to have Nick with us, and I will turn the program over to him.
Can you hear me? I think so, right? Julie, thank you for that great introduction. Congratulations again to all of the Dean's List students. That's absolutely terrific. Keep up the good work. You're going to need it because it gets harder, it doesn't get easier as we go forward. Basically because everything continues to change. And I want to talk a lot about that this evening with you. Why is it changing? What's changing? And what can you expect? But I also want you to know that my relationship with Syracuse is totally atypical. I'm not a traditional student. I actually never came here to get my master's degree. They came to me. This is a long time ago. Way before any of you were born, way before most of you in the room were born, back in 1967, when I first graduated from RPI and took on full employment at IBM. So I got my master's degree because Syracuse came to the Mid-Hudson Valley. I was working in Poughkeepsie, New York at the time. They came to the Mid-Hudson Valley twice a week. I was allowed to take 1 course, work full-time, IBM would pay for it, and take a course nonstop for 4 years to get my master's degree. I took the non-thesis option, which meant I had to take 11 courses. So I started in 67, I finished in 72, came here, got my degree. I had to also, by the way, matriculate here. I had to prove to them that I could walk, talk, and chew gum. I had to take, the SATs or the SREs, whatever they were, SREs I think is what they were. I had to also take a comprehensive final, 6 hours, on everything in theory I learned in those 11 courses. Needless to say, the way I'm telling the story, I nailed it. I just absolutely nailed it. I was so motivated to get it done, and so appreciative, to be honest with you, for the opportunity to do this at a very high inflection point of change in the industry. Everything was changing. And to have the privilege to continue to further your education, to understand and better deal with many of the concepts that you may have learned as an undergraduate, but to actually get to understand why technology was changing and what it meant and what about, the future. It was the perfect thing for me to do. and the perfect thing for me to do and to pay no money to do it. We had a child, I was married, and I was also being transferred out of the Mid-Hudson Valley to far distant reaches of Burlington, Vermont. So I was very motivated to get my degree and to get it done, because if I went to Vermont, I wouldn't be able to get my master's degree, because there was no such thing as online learning at that time. There was no way to continue. So I'm very appreciative of what IBM did for me. I was very appreciative of what Syracuse did for me. At some point in time, you're going to leave here. You're going to join the ranks of alum. We're going to lean into you, and we're going to ask you for some support. And I'll never forget the day that Syracuse came knocking on my door. Very humble. And they simply said, "Do you really feel anything for us?" I said, "Well, what do you mean by that? Do I really feel anything for you?" "Well, you know, you never really came here, but yet we gave you a master's degree. How do you feel about us?" I said, "Well, I'm very thankful. Thanks very much." "Well, what we really mean is, do you have any money for us?" It always comes down to gifts. I want you to remember that. And the answer, of course, from my humble perspective was, sure I do. I have a very warm spot in my heart, even though I am totally non-traditional. I've been blessed to have been given the Lawrence Award several years ago, and I was also blessed a few years ago to be given an honorary PhD. So in addition to being on your board of trustees, maybe I don't bleed orange, and maybe I don't know the things that you know, but I feel a great respect for Syracuse and a great responsibility to do what I can to help Syracuse. So the only other thing I want to say before I get on to my topic is it always struck me that Syracuse was made up, in a classic sense of all good universities, of two very important ingredients. It somehow found the best students, and it had the best faculty. And if you can have both of those, you can have a great university. Without that, it's very hard. So I know the faculty respect you, and I know you respect the faculty. Oh yeah, you needed administration as well, but that's kind of off to the side. I mean, it starts with those two elements, and I owe a great deal, and I think they're all gone now, all the faculty that taught me. I think it's probably a safe bet that they're not here anymore. They were just amazing people, just amazing people. They must have sacrificed to actually come to the Mid-Hudson Valley twice a week. So I have a warm spot in my heart for you. I do root for you, even though my wife is a UConn basketball fan. We do watch the game in separate rooms. That's how avid a sports fan she is. So thank you for having me, sincerely. The sling is because 4 weeks or 8 weeks ago now, I had rotator cuff surgery. I fell this winter, went to therapy, thought I was getting better, actually got worse, so I bit the bullet and had a couple of tears repaired, a bone spur removed, and a tendon reattached. But I'm in great shape. This is just more of a prophylactic to keep me stable and to keep you away from me. Business and technology. It's a changing world, and it's going to change faster and faster. If you learn one thing, and if you remember one thing, remember to look for the second derivative of everything. The second derivative. It's the rate of change of the rate of change that you should worry the most about. How fast is it changing? Either way. How fast is it increasing? How fast is it decreasing? The rate of change of the rate of change is what you want to focus on. In the end, no matter what your discipline, whether it's life sciences, physical sciences, social sciences, data sciences, it doesn't matter. It's that second derivative that warns you, that gives you that early signal, that gives you that advanced notice. It's the leading indicator. It's the leading indicator of what's to come. It's the leading indicator of opportunity for you. It's the leading indicator of what you need to learn. It's the leading indicator of perhaps where you should be and what you should be doing with your life. And it transcends all disciplines. I'm an electrical engineer. I became a computer engineer. I never stopped learning. I actually fancy myself as a physicist. Not a very good one, but I mean, I actually understand the science of things. I understand why things work the way they work. You need to know that too. And you need to become the great simplifier. If you're going to be successful at business, you have to take very complicated things and reduce them to very simple things. You have to almost think horsey, horsey, ducky, ducky. No matter how complicated it is, I will explain it to you. No matter how challenging it is, I'll grasp that, I'll understand it, and I'll be able to help you figure out what to do with it. It doesn't matter whether it's life sciences or physical sciences. It just doesn't matter. It's all going to change. You have to have a presence everywhere. If you went to life sciences because you hated physical science, you made a mistake. You will not be able to succeed in life sciences without understanding the physical sciences. And if you went to physical sciences because you hate life sciences, you also made a mistake, because you're going to need to figure out what that's all about as well. If you haven't figured it out, the science of the 21st century is life science, but it's enabled by physical science. It's no more complicated than that. You can't be doing the things that we're doing in life sciences without physical science advancing. Computational capability, big data, machine learning, artificial intelligence, cognitive. These are all going to become part of every toolkit you've got. You actually won't be able to do Maxwell stuff or Newhouse stuff either, or Whitman stuff. They just don't know it because they're a little bit more removed. But trust me, you are the wealth generators of the 21st century. They're actually the wealth manipulators of the 21st century. Don't tell them I said that. I have friends over there. But think about it. There's a lot of truth to what I'm saying here. We talk often about, the relationship between this college, and Newhouse. I mean, earlier we were talking about the fact that video films are being made today without a venue. They're being made in the digital space. There is no studio. There is no studio, and there's no integration until we take all the pieces and we masterly craft it into a finished product. Didn't make that up. There's actually a company out there called Tongo. You should look them up. They make videos every day. They have no studio. There are no people in Tongo. The people are distributed around the world. They come together for a specific task. How do you validate that? How do you watermark that? How do you trademark that? How do you intellectually protect that? How do you distribute that? It's going to be even more powerful in the future. We're just at the beginning of this. The capabilities of technology are profound. We're on this super exponential curve. Super exponential, a rising curve on a semi-log plot. It's a super exponential curve. And we're not even sure that we've hit the knee of the curve yet. Every day we think we're up here having fun, where the rise and the run are just driving you nuts. I doubt it. I think we're yet to see the bend in the curve. That's how exciting everything is. That's how fast everything is changing. You know, and just when you think you have it all figured out, a new idea comes along. Or just when you think you have it all figured out, there's a new opportunity. Just as it was for me when I was your age. Graduated from RPI. I knew everything there was to know about vacuum tubes. Who cared? That's not what we were designing with. It was all about transistors. It was all about integrated circuits. Same idea, same electrons, same rules, you know, same Kirchhoff's laws of current and voltage, same Ohm's law, same inductors, same capacitors, but just a different way of making it happen. Just a different manifestation. Just a different way to implement it. You give up, or do you just go forward? This is what's going to happen again. I mean, you are coming to the end of a major era. You are. In your lifetime, something very profound is going to happen. If, for me, the profoundness was vacuum tubes to transistors, what is it for you? Do you have any idea what I'm talking about? None. You have no idea at all. Let me help you. Most things today, most electronic things, are made out of what? Chips, right? How do we make those chips? They're made out of, say what?
Plastics.
Well, they're encased in plastics. What's the chip made out of? Silicon. What's going to happen in 10, 15 years to silicon? Anybody got a guess? It's done. It's done. It doesn't exist anymore. We need something else. You can't get smaller. You can't get faster. There are no electrons left. There's two of them. That says half the time the device is working, half the time it's not. That's not a good device, is it? Do you want to carry that in your pocket? Half the time it works, half the time it doesn't. New material. Something's going to replace it. Not to worry. Well, maybe worry a little bit, but something will replace it. What will that be? That's what's going to keep you on that bend. Before the bend in that super exponential curve. New materials, new devices, just like transistors, you know, were to me what vacuum tubes were to you in the sense of semiconductors today. That's where we are. It's going to be an amazingly exciting time. Maybe that material is magnetics. Maybe that material is optical. Maybe it's photons. There's a lot of ways to move energy. Do you even understand that? Do you think that way? That's what I'm talking about. That's what you have to be able to simplify. I don't know what the answer is. I really don't. But I know there is an answer, and I know the change is coming. I can see it. It's right in front of your eyes. And before we hit the wall, something will happen. And somebody will create something. And you'll say, it was so obvious to me. It was so obvious to me. The fact of the matter is it's not obvious to all of us until it's obvious to all of us. And the way technology intersects with business is how value is created. That's what's important. And that's what you need to understand. And that's done through a process called innovation. And I don't know what you know about innovation. I don't know how you feel about it. So what do you think? Tell me what you think innovation is. What do you think innovation is?
Taking something that's been done the same way too long and doing it a new way.
All right, that's one definition of innovation. That's good. What do you think innovation is?
Something that hasn't been done before. It could be
That's an interesting approach. What do you think it is?
More efficient, better way to do something?
Say what?
A more efficient or faster way to do something?
Okay, perhaps. And what do you think it is?
Creating new product,
A new product? And what do you think it is?
a new idea or product.
A new idea or a product? And what do you think it is?
New innovation more effective, any materials to use.
Say what?
New products to be more effective and more efficient.
More effective and more efficient.
New ideas.
New ideas. Okay. You're partially right, and you're all wrong. If there's no value created, there is no innovation. If there's no value created, there is no innovation. That value could be any kind of value. It could be economic value, could be social value, could be business value, governmental value, educational value. But if there's no value created, technically there is no innovation. It could be a lot of the things that you've said, if those things result in value being created. You were all quite clever, by the way. Not one of you said invention. Not one of you said technology, per se. That's what most people think of when they think of innovation. It's an invention. It's technology. It's actually none of those things. It's what you do with it. It's the value that you create. And that's how you're going to be measured when you leave here and go to work, if that's what you do. Or actually, even if you don't go to work, if you go back and get a higher degree and teach, you're going to be measured that way too. Value must be created. So how do we innovate? Or better yet, how about just name for me someone you think is a great innovator? Who do you think is a great innovator? Not a trick question. We're not going to grade and score you. This will not gate your getting on the dean's list. You have no ideas of a great innovator. How about Steve Jobs? Would you say that he was a great innovator?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd say that, wouldn't you? Sure, I would too. I would too. I knew Steve. God rest his soul. He's not an engineer. You knew that, right? He didn't graduate from college. He fancied himself, as a technical person, but that's not what motivated him. How did he do what he did? If he was a great innovator, you have to remember, he starts Apple, he gets booted out because of failures, goes off, starts Next, which is a very innovative company, which I don't expect you to know much about because it wasn't very successful, never made any money, and then he goes back to Apple. And that's when most of you pick up his life story, right? He goes back to Apple, and he sets the record straight. He sets the record straight. He proves to everybody that he is an innovative guy. And what's one of the first things he does when he goes back to Apple? What's one of the first things he does? Anybody here besides me have an iPod? You can own up to it. Yeah, there's a few of us. So what was the iPod? This is the beginning, right? Before the iPad, before the iPhone, there's the iPod. What was it? How did he come up with this idea? Did he create this idea himself? Was this a brand new idea that he created? Was it? No. Where the heck did he get it from? Does anybody know where he got it from?
Zoom.
Say what?
Zoom.
No. He got it from the failure of another company. He got it from the failure of Napster. Anybody remember Napster? What they did? They did exactly the same thing the iPad did, except they lied, cheated, and stole. And they were sued. And they lost. He studies what they do. And he says, you know what? We'll make a system. I'll get a friend of mine. He'll come to Apple. He'll build this little device that you can hold in the palm of your hand that has one button on it. And we're going to make it so stupid that you can't screw it up. You're going to love it. And we're going to make all of the right deals with all of the title owners. And we're going to give them a piece of action. And they're all going to love me. And while we might just get a few cents, we're going to make a lot of money. This is his idea. It's all off of Napster's failure. Because there were MP3 players, there were a lot of things out there, a lot of devices out there. That's exactly what he did. That's exactly what he did. He studied the problem. This is what innovators do. They start with the problem, not the answer. The temptation is to start with what you know. The temptation is to start with your technology base. I'm a life scientist. I'm a physical scientist. You know, you must want what I have. You need more life science, don't you? You need more physical science, don't you? Maybe, maybe not. You know, we may need the intersection of both of them. That might be where the real value is. That's how Steve Jobs gets to be known as the innovator he is. And then from there, everything else follows. The iPad, the iPhone, we're still waiting for the iTV. You know, who knows, there'll be the iCar, you know, at some point in time. Start with the problem. Start with the problem. Know the problem better than anyone else. That's what innovators do. The other thing innovators do is they collaborate better than anyone. Now, Steve Jobs is not known as a collaborator, but he was a collaborator. He was, in his own circle, in his own way, with the people he chose. So he wasn't the broadest of collaborators. Maybe they would have had even more success. So you can't pick and choose. That's a bad strategy. It works for a few and it fails for most. That's why I'm so passionate about this issue around inclusion. Women, underrepresented minorities, people of different faiths, people of different beliefs. It's not just women and underrepresented minorities. I mean, gender now is a spectrum. It's gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender questioning. You have to include everyone. You have to include, maybe you don't like this, you have to include the alt-right and you have to include the alt-left. Because you just don't know who has the last piece to the puzzle. You just don't know. And the only way you can do that is to build an enabling network that's inclusive, that invites everybody to be themselves, to be the best of who they are, to participate in the problem. Does this make any sense to you? This is what's going to be the intersection of meaningful business and technology going forward. Who does that better wins. Wins. It's no more complicated than that. Open, collaborative, multidisciplined. You have to bring everybody together. You can't do that if you don't have an inclusive attitude about you. It just doesn't work. Now, some big giants were built with exclusion. I'm not saying you can't make money. I didn't imply that. But we're talking about the way things are going to go. We're talking about the second derivative. We're talking about the rate of change of the rate of change. You can feel this already, can't you? You can feel the way this is snowballing. You can feel the way this is moving. This is what will matter in the end. How you understand what I'm saying. How you put it to work when you go to work in business or academia or government or wherever you go. It's going to make a world of difference. A world of difference. The idea that the United States can be dominant, or China can be dominant, or Russia can be dominant, or Korea can be dominant, or India can be dominant, they're all bad ideas. They're all bad ideas. They're transient ideas. This is a global economy. It's a global environment. It's a global life that we live. You can't unglobalize things. Once they're global, they're global. It's like trying to shove the genie back in the bottle. You can't do that. You can try, it's a fool's errand. In the end, you will be proven wrong. The best value will be created because we are innovative in the sense that we are inclusive, collaborative, open, multidisciplined, and global. And if that happens first here, it's our advantage. It's to our advantage. Where we live. We don't wish ill of China, we don't wish ill of Russia, we don't wish ill of Germany, England, we don't wish ill of anyone. They'll all succeed in that environment. But unless we're doing that, unless we are driving our economic value, our business value from an innovative perspective, I'm telling you right now, it's a losing value proposition. Because the only thing that works Besides that, is somebody said efficiency, effectiveness over here. It's provide me stuff cheaper and cheaper. Higher quality stuff, cheaper. Any of you want to pay more for the stuff you're buying? No. Anybody want to buy less quality stuff? Anybody looking to buy cheap, lousy quality stuff? Anybody? No. You demand it. You demand more for your money. That's built in. Wherever you are in the world, you demand it. Can you compete on a cost basis? Is that what you're thinking? By the way, in the end, most of that cost is going to be done by machines. It's not going to be done by people. What are you going to do with them? What are you going to do with the 9 billion people on the planet by 2050? You got any plans? Where are they going to work? Got any ideas about what we're going to do in this country? With 400 million people? 500 million people by 2050? Any ideas? We have no jobs. What are we going to do with them? Where are we going to put them to work? This is the life we've chosen. This is the way technology advances. We have to deal with the fact that we have to educate everybody, not just you. You're the chosen few. Or maybe you're the chosen 40%. I guess 40% of the people in this country go to college now, something like that I read recently. What about the 60% that don't? Do we just keep pushing them down? Keep pushing them to the base? Standing on their shoulders? Is that what we do? It doesn't work. It doesn't work for very long. It's not an economically viable strategy. Somehow, part of what you have to do in that innovative network, they have to be brought along as well. They have to be brought along as well. I remember going to work for IBM very vividly. They told me the first day I showed up in 1967 for my first permanent job, your job is to figure these circuits out as fast as you can and pass them to him. We're paying him half of what we're paying you. We expect more out of you than we do. And by the way, he's better than you. And he's not going to screw them up. Once you create them and analyze them, he'll lay them out correctly, we'll get the right silicon made, he'll validate it, and we'll be successful. We're afraid if we leave that in your hands, you will totally screw it up. So you keep inventing, you keep creating, you keep innovating. That's what they told me my job was. It was that simple. Pass your work on to someone who gets paid less than you. Once you figure out all the problems, they'll execute it better than you. You go back, come up with the next big idea. So you keep going up, and we'll keep pushing the work out. Do we do that anymore? Anybody hear this? Any company that you know of that does this for a living? No, they don't. Everybody's afraid to let go of anything for fear there is nothing left to do. That's how little confidence people have in their ability to innovate. That's how little confidence they have in their ability to better understand the problem and to move up, as opposed to just stay where you are. If you're doing this, there is no rate of change over the rate of change. You are going to be doing that very soon. You're going to be going down. This is what you have to cope with. In the end, this is why you're becoming an engineer, a scientist. This is why you're doing what you're doing, is to create more opportunity for everyone. Not just yourself, for everyone. And that has to become your attitude. You want to be successful in business? Here's the other key. As much as I love the School of Engineering and Computer Science, you have to educate yourself with a T-shaped model, not an I-shaped model. You understand what an I-shaped model is? I'm an electrical engineer. I'm a circuit designing electrical engineer. I'm a memory circuit designing electrical engineer. I'm an integrated circuit memory designing engineer. And by the time they're done with you, you have exactly one small sphere that you can spin in. We tend to do this. with our bachelor's degrees, our master's degrees, even our PhDs. You have to become even more specific to get a PhD. That's great. And if you were thinking about being a Nobel laureate, God bless you. We need that. The vast majority of people in this room are not Nobel laureates. I have news for you. So you have to educate yourself with a T-shaped model. You have to be broad as well as deep, because value migrates and you don't control it. And if all you are is what you are, you will have great trouble when value migrates. How do you think I felt when it wasn't vacuum tubes? It wasn't ferrite cores. It was transistors. How do you think I felt when it was no longer semiconductors, it was computers? How do you think I felt when it was no longer computers, it was software? How do you think I felt when it was services, no longer software? In my lifetime, all this happened. Were you supposed to just curl up in a ball, shrivel up and disappear? Or were you in the game? Were you in the game? Were you continuing that second derivative approach? I'll change faster than you can change. You can't do that if you're not as broad as you are deep. A T-shaped higher education model. We talked earlier about Newhouse and this university, this college. Why wouldn't you? And this university has heard this from me before. Your previous chancellor heard this story from me. Your current chancellor has heard this from me. Many of the faculty have heard this from me. Syracuse is a perfect place. You've got great colleges, schools inside the university. Your advantage is to take advantage of all of them. Not to simply say proudly, I graduated from Maxwell, Newhouse, Whitman, the School of Engineering and Computer Science. It's, I graduated from that school, but I know what goes on in Maxwell, Newhouse, and Whitman. I've taken courses there. They've taken courses here. That broadens you. That's the reason universities exist, because they're broad. And if you don't take advantage of that while you're here, shame on you. And if they don't let you, shame on them. This is your chance to truly make a difference. This is your chance to T-shape yourself. Be a civil engineer. Be an environmental engineer. Be a bio-life scientist. Be a chemical engineer. Be a double E. Be a computer scientist. But be those other things too, because it's not going to last. What we're teaching you now is only the beginning. We teach you how to learn. The stuff we're teaching you just gets you started. If you believe what I said in terms of the knee of the curve, that super exponential plot, there's going to be so much more to know that you're not going to know. It's what do you do about what you don't know versus what you know. I used to judge people coming into IBM more about what they did, about what they didn't know, versus what they knew. What you know doesn't do you much good if everything is changing that fast, does it? Think about it. Who cares what you know? It's all going to be different tomorrow. Isn't it? What's your favorite perspective? Some people say in the next 20 years we're going to recreate everything that we've created since time began. The equivalent of that will be done again in the next 20 years. By 20, try 30. By 30, try 40. But somewhere in there, that is a true statement. That's a lot of change, isn't it? You're going to be measured and you're going to be scored by what you do with change and how you embrace it. And this idea of being T-shaped versus I-shaped, it's a very big idea. It's something that you need to personalize and you need to push for here. This place is enabled to do that, but maybe not as enabled as it should be. There are smaller schools where you can do this. It's tough to do it here. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't. You're trying to be business ready, aren't you? Or you're trying to be something postgraduate ready. Maybe it's faculty, maybe it's government, I don't care. Maybe it's religion, maybe it's education. I'm telling you right now, T-shaped is what you want to be thinking about. Be innovative, focus on the problem, not the answer. Be collaborative, be open, be multidisciplined, be global in your thinking, be a T-shaped person, and don't ever forget that people are going to truly judge you based on what you do about what you don't know versus what you know. Because what you know is so transient. I mean, I speak from my heart here in the sense of that's what made me who I am. At IBM, I mean, I really didn't care what was happening. I didn't care. I mean, I actually understand quantum computing. I was a lousy quantum physicist. I actually understand quantum physics. I understand enough of it to be dangerous. I understand enough of it to be able to explain it. I understand enough of it to understand how you create value. That's what you have to do, wherever you are, whether you're on the life sciences side of this or on the physical side of this. That's what you have to be. It's exciting, isn't it? This should give you like shivers, like, holy mackerel, this whole thing is going to go upside down again. And I'm going to be right there. I'm going to be right there in the middle of the primordial ooze as we pull out whatever the hell we're going to pull out and whatever we're going to shape. That could be you doing that. That's the way I felt when I was your age. It was like, you know, I was a pretty smart guy, but I wasn't the smartest guy. Guess what? You didn't have to be. You needed to be the fastest learning person. You needed to be quick to change. You needed to actually be willing to change. Most people don't like that. They like to live right where they are. They don't want to change. They don't want, you know, I'm going to take this kind of a job. I don't need that. I need that. I mean, I thrived on that. I hope to goodness that that's the attitude you're going to have as you educate yourself here and get ready to leave here. Because that's what is going to make success for your business, for your country, wherever you live. That's how value is created in the end. Does this make sense to you? Anybody want to argue with me? Oh, you do? Oh, okay. There's always one guy. And he didn't even get the right answers. Did you take his name, by the way? Let me stop here, because I can go on all night. Let me stop here and answer whatever questions you might have. Okay? By all means. Right over here. I think they want you to have a mic so that they can fully capture everything.
Hi, my name is Attila. I have a question regarding, so in the case of the iPhone, we had an innovation that was unexpected, and
Right.
it's a latent, not blatant need. What do you have suggestions for creating more innovation in that category versus just improving what we already have?
Right. It's a good question. So, Tilly, you have got to find a problem that is so critical, that is so obvious, that you better understand it and start to think about, okay, so how do we solve this? Others may have done it before you. This happens all the time with technology, right? People start in places where the technology isn't ready. So, number one, if I were you, study failure. Study other people's failures. Because in those failures are the problems. That people weren't doing that just for the heck of it. They were doing it because there was a meaningful problem to be solved. The technology wasn't ready. I'd have to say that. I should have said that as well. We had MP3 players. There was a lot of things that Steve did. I don't mean to diminish his achievement here. But after all, I mean, the iPod itself was a piece of crap. I mean, you and I could have built the iPod. I know the guy who built it. The guy who built it used to be a business partner of mine. And if he were here, John Rubenstein were here, he'd say the same thing to you. You know, I don't think there was like $25 worth of crap in an iPhone. There's probably $2.50 in it now. So, you know, that's not the answer. It's how you put it together and what problem you're trying to solve. Failure. If you want to be schooled on something, study people's failures. Why they didn't work. Was it technology's fault? Did you solve the wrong problem? What problem were you trying to solve? Watch that. Because, you know, right now you can go to school on this with quantum computers. They're coming out. There are a few quantum computers. Are they really quantum computers? You know, a lot of people in the industry say no. They're doing something, but they're truly not quantum computers. D-Wave comes to mind, Canadian company. If you're from Canada, you own D-Wave, I apologize. But that's a good example of, you know, watch. So people will learn from D-Wave. Maybe D-Wave isn't the end-all, the be-all, but you'll learn from that and you'll make a real value added quantum computer along the way. Someone will. That's how people do this. They learn from mistakes. Now, if you don't want to do that, if you want to carve up a new frontier, that's a different story. I mean, that's, you know, now you're talking about Nobel laureate work. You know, where, you know, maybe you want to go at the intersection of life science and physical science. You know, there's a lot of fertile opportunity there. That's the other thing people tend to do when they want to be innovative. You intersect where nobody intersects. You put things together that nobody else puts together. And you see what the outcomes are. That's a good idea. I mean, you know, if you can afford to do that and somebody can, you know, afford to do that for you, great idea. Let's do that, right? That's how a lot of new materials are put together. That's how graphene was created. You know, we have guys at the IBM Research Laboratory. I mean, these guys run the periodic table 32 times a day. They can rack and stack stuff, you know, like you've never seen. This is what they do, you know, to keep trying. Is there a better way? Is there a better way? Is there a better way? And every once in a while, you know, you stumble across, you know, what, superconducting, you know, high temperature material. And for that, you get a Nobel Prize. Did they actually know what they were doing? Were they doing exactly that? No. I mean, they were in the area. They were in the zip code. That's not what they were doing. Happens all the time. So depends on who you are and where you are going to be, right? Intersect things that don't intersect. Don't be afraid. People say stupid, nobody does that. That's usually a good sign. I'm going to do it. You know, there's possibly something to learn here, and then study from other people's mistakes. Is that what you were looking for, or did you want something else?
I'll talk to you after.
You'll talk to me after. You have a good idea. I'm interested if you have a good idea. Other questions? Other comments? Perfectly clear. Everybody's got this? Take out a piece of paper, we'll have a quiz. Let's see what you really learned. Yes? We'll get you a microphone, sir, and just so that we make sure we hear your voice.
Hi, my name is Glenn. I'm actually an alum of ECS. So you survived at IBM for a long time. I'm curious about your experience in IBM. You know, historically, they were a company that never laid anybody off back in, you know, the old days. I grew up in Hudson Valley too, where IBM was king.
Sure.
Now, you know, they're gone and they're as lean as anybody else.
Right.
So, from a career perspective, maybe explain how are you able to survive and thrive at IBM for all this time? Thank you.
Great, thank you. Very good question, because it is survive and thrive. It's very interesting what he said. Let's go back to the end of the 80s. IBM, company of 425,000 people, the end of the 80s. IBM, the end of 2016, company of 425,000 people. In between, we went down to a company of 220,000 people. We laid off every other person. And then came back up the other side. A couple of things happened. You start to realize that you don't control value. You do not control value. No matter who you are, you don't control it. Value migrates, and you have to be prepared to migrate with it, or you perish. You understand what I'm saying? People don't want to buy hardware anymore. They want it free when they get their software. Or they don't want to buy software. They want it free when they get their hardware. We're in both worlds, aren't we, in some sense? You get all these free apps. When you buy an iPhone, you pay a fortune for an iPhone. But all these apps come free. All these lousy, rotten, leaky, cyber breached apps. And you actually agree every time you put one on your phone. You say, yes, I assume the liability. How did you let that happen? But value is migrated, right? You want the app because you want to put the phone to work. Or you don't buy either one. You just sign up for the service. 5-year contract, didn't you? You signed up for a 5-year contract. I tell by the look on your face. He signed a 5-year contract. So he's paying through the nose now. He's got this, phone that's already obsolete, and he only gets the apps that they let him get. Value migrated right in front of your nose. That's what was going on at IBM. Value was migrating. They were refusing to accept it. People didn't want to buy everything that IBM had. They wanted you to give them this and they'll buy that. But when your business is made up of a happy mix of all of them, there's no way to give you that without taking a huge hit. Because I had revenue from that. And if I don't get that revenue replaced, I have to shrink. And that's exactly what they did. They shrank. It's very interesting, by the way. In let's pick 1990, half the people in IBM were salaried employees. You know what a salaried employee is? That means we're not paying you for overtime. The other half were hourly employees. They were direct laborers. They worked in Endicott, in Binghamton, Owego. They worked in California. They worked in New York, in Poughkeepsie, in Fishkill. In 2016, I don't think there's 5% of the IBM workforce that's an hourly employee. Everyone is salaried. Everyone is salaried. It switched. It switched. We can make more. Didn't I tell you earlier that most of those jobs were going to disappear? They did. And they did. This is the God's honest truth. When I was first married and went to work for IBM, the largest employer of tool and die makers in the United States, if not the world, you know what a tool and die maker is? These are people who actually make machines. They're tool and die makers. They take raw stock, iron, copper, and they make it into something. They actually make it into a drill, or they make it into a fastener. They actually are tool and die makers. It was IBM. They made everything. They made everything. They made the things that made the things. Way different. Value migrated. You don't control it. You wished you did. The transition would be easier. It would be a lot nicer. It'd be less bumpy. You could maybe do a better job, but you don't control it. That's what I learned through that transition. Is value migrates and you don't control it. And the faster you get that into your head, and the faster you focus on going forward, look, I didn't enjoy laying off half the workforce in the Mid-Hudson Valley. I am from the Mid-Hudson Valley. I was born and raised in Beacon, New York. I ended up laying off my uncle, my aunt, my sister-in-law, my nieces. Every night I'd get a phone call from my mother asking me what I was doing. And I would say to her, Ma, now's a real good time for you not to tell anyone that your son, the IBM executive. Now's a real good time for you to stop saying that to people. Because I can't do anything about that. If we're laying off 35, 40,000 people, yes, it will be your relatives. Yes, it will be your friends. What can you do? You can't do enough. You wished you could, but you can't. It's gut-wrenching to do that. I cried. Many meetings I cried at when we had to announce what the programs were, what we were going to do, why we were doing it, where we were going, the fact that we were shifting technologies, the fact that we were changing the way we put the whole system together. That system, by the way, that props up the Mid-Hudson Valley, the mainframe, it's called the Z platform. It's the reason IBM is growing now. They just posted their earnings. They did pretty well. They forecasted there'll be growth for IBM in the fourth quarter. That was their forecast. Read it. It's that lousy mainframe, that 55-year-old mainframe that we somehow transformed. A lot less people. They go together a lot faster now. You know, we don't need you to make the frame. You know, we don't need you to make the casters. Don't need you to make the rivets, the bolts. We don't have a paint shop anymore. We did all that. We did that inside IBM. What color did you want? We'll mix it up for you and we'll paint it that way. All gone. All gone. Good? Bad? I don't know. I'm not going to comment. Value, we chased it. We were slow. We didn't move as fast as we should have. We got it though. Neither did Steve Jobs, right? Took him to get bounced out, to go to Next, and to come back. Sweet revenge for him. But what you don't know is he made Apple buy Next. So when he went back to Apple, he was already a rich man. That's why he never took a salary. That's why he got paid only in stock. He made them buy Next. It's not easy. These transitions, you're going to have your own version of these, is all I'm saying. You know, I have mine, Steve had his. Everybody has their own. Please, you can forget everything else I said to you tonight, but don't forget value migrates, and you don't control it. If you don't understand that to its core, if you don't understand that to its core and how you fit in and what your role is in that whole migration, that whole progression, honestly, you will be a loser. You will be a loser, and you will absolutely despair. You can't let that happen to you. T-shaped people don't let that happen to themselves. They see that happening. They see how it progresses. They look for what people are using to solve problems. They look for and understand where people value things. And by the way, it works at different places, it works at different times. While this was all going on in the United States, I was spending a lot of time in China, building up their banking system. They were the exact opposite. I'm going to pay for the hardware, you're giving me the software for nothing. And you're giving me the services for nothing. So you just jack up the price of the hardware. That's what you want? We'll give you that. We'll make that deal with you. Every large bank in China that exists today exists because we tooled them. We tooled them and schooled them on the mainframe. ICBC, the largest bank, arguably the largest bank in the world, is a huge IBM mainframe client. Huge. I remember going to ICBC, 25 years ago. You know how many branches they had in that bank in China? Take a guess at how many branches they had 25 years ago. 35,000. Branches. They could close their books twice a year because they literally had to go to every branch. Nothing was wired. Everything was remote. They could barely close their books twice a year. All different now. It's only 25 years ago. It's not that long ago. And from there, they became the world's biggest bank. Lots of things have changed and will continue to change. Value will migrate, and if you don't grasp that, understand that, and use it to drive yourself, like I said, you're going to be judged going forward more by what you do about what you don't know versus what you know. you're left behind. I hate to say it. You're left behind, and perhaps you are a loser. Don't let that happen to yourself, huh? You're smart enough. Nobody was giving me this lecture when I was your age. So you're getting a head start. You are getting a head start. Use it wisely. Is that okay? Does that help you?
That's pretty good, although, how do you personally survive?
Oh, personally,
I guess.
I got my mother to stop talking. No, I did what I told the students to do. I took complicated things and made them simple. Lou Gerstner comes to IBM in 1991, April 1st. 1991. Go home and I say to my wife, we just moved down from Burlington, Vermont. I said, stop unpacking the boxes. It's not clear I have a job. This guy is he's out of the bubblegum, cigarettes, and cookie industry. What does he know about technology and mainframes? He's an engineer, a graduate from Dartmouth. Do they really have engineers at Dartmouth? I mean, do they really graduate engineers out of Dartmouth? I've learned since then that they do. Thank you to all my friends at Dartmouth. I'm looking you right in the eye and saying you did a great job. Okay? So I didn't know what to expect. He starts out by saying to each of us, I'm going to talk with you each, but you're each going to submit to me, a 5-page paper. And that's all we're going to discuss. So you're going to come here, and I'm going to be as smart as you are, because we're going to all start with the same knowledge base, that paper. Don't bring any current events in. I am not interested in what happened yesterday or today. When you submit this paper, time stops. How's that work? We're in a fast-changing industry. That curve, so you have to write it up. I'm running the mainframe business. I'm in Poughkeepsie. I'm hunkered down. I'm the guy laying off people. I'm the guy who's going to tell him he's going to have to take what did we take? I don't know. Not quite a $5 billion write-off. We thought that was a lot of money then. I mean, now it's like, let's write off $5 billion. What's that? He comes to visit us. He's got the paper. We're so flummoxed. For some reason, his badge doesn't work in our building. So he can't get in. He's downstairs. The meeting starts at 8 o'clock. He's there at 7:30. So, I was there at 7:15, but I wasn't downstairs waiting for him at 7:15. So I go down, I let him in, get him situated. And this is in the old days, right? When we didn't have digital everything. So do you know what a foil projector is? Does that ring a bell with you? Some of us do, but transparencies, you know what they are? So these foil projectors were literally acetates. So they were transparent and they had writing on them. You could write it on it or you could actually copy it on it, right? So they were called foils. And every conference room had a foil projector. And that's the way you gave presentations. You put your foils up, right? So the foils were like the cartoons you would draw, graphics today, except you had to do them by hand then. I turn on the foil projector. It's just my team is in the room. And turn on the foil projector, put up the first foil. He clicks off the foil projector. He said, we're not going to use this. So you're just going to talk to me about what was in your paper. So we did. He got it. He understood it. I took all his challenges, all the questions that he had. We simplified things. We helped him understand it. We weren't trying to hoodwink him. We were trying to be very candid with him. And I'm out the door, say goodbye to him. He goes away. My email, in those days it was called vMail. It was VM mail. It's not the VM you know, it's the original VM that we invented at IBM. It's full of from around the world emails, all titled the same thing. The click heard around the world. Everybody got rid of foil projectors. When that foil projector was shut off, there wasn't another foil projector in the IBM company. And I survived because I simplified. I listened to him. I answered his questions. I did it the way he wanted. Wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do, but I did it the way he wanted it done. And we became very good friends, to be honest with you, but you would have never known. Every time he called me, he had no small talk. It was never, hey, Karen, how are you doing? How are the kids? Everything okay at home? Nick, where are you? So I'd say, I'm on the other end of the phone. Nick, I need you now. Hey, Lou, I got 5,000 people here. They think I'm supposed to go out like in 2 minutes to talk to them. You think I should go talk to them first, or do you really mean come there now? We got to understand each other. We got to create a dialogue. I think he's written a book, Elephants Can Dance. He actually let me read that before he published it, and I suggested he make a few changes. I'm in there. I'm in that book, and I think he describes me as the great simplifier. You know, a person he valued because I could take complicated things and help him understand what was meant by it. And you know, we're loaded with jargon. You get jargonitis after a while, you know, where you're speaking a language that only you and the people in the organization can learn and understand. You're not speaking English. I translate for him. And I think he did a great job for IBM. I give him a tremendous amount of credit for not breaking IBM up. I think IBM has a lot more things that it needs to do, but he could have easily have destroyed a huge amount of value. He didn't. And the other thing I have to say to you is he is the reason the mainframe exists, because he backed me with every decision that I had made. Every decision. He didn't make them, but he backed me. He understood it, he knew why I was doing it, and he was so capable of understanding the value that that system had created and could create. He could have just as easily, with a stroke of a pen, said, okay, we're taking a $5 billion write-off, and now we're taking a $6 billion write-off, and it's your thing that's getting written off. He didn't. It was a smart decision. So you can't give up on yourself. You know, and look, I am not schooled that way. I didn't go to school to learn computers. I told you what I was, right? I'm an electrical engineer. I'm a circuit designer. I mean, I became a memory circuit designer, then a logic circuit designer. I had to learn computers. I had to learn how to build them. I had to learn programming on the fly, enough to be dangerous, you know, enough to lead complicated organizations. And then I had to learn how to lead research and what quantum was, and you know, what graphene is, and why does silicon run out. Don't ever stop learning, and remember what I said. Going forward, you're going to be judged more by what you do about what you don't know versus what you know, because there's so much unknowable. Does that make sense to you? I wish you all the best. I truly do. I wish each and every one of you unbelievable success. And when that happens, get your butts back here and give Syracuse a lot of money. Good luck to you.
So I agree that value migrates, but this is true value here, and I hope that you have all taken away some really great lessons from Nick's talk tonight. So Nick, come on up. We've got a little gift.
Thank you very much.
So thank you very much for your talk, and thank you all for joining us. We'll have a reception out in the foyer outside of the auditorium. And please, students, I'm sure Nick would be happy to take some more of your questions
Absolutely.
out there. So please join us for food right out in the lobby.
She has my email if you need me, by the way. So, but be careful what you ask for.